Hola, 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 ¿cómo estás? Don't worry, it's not going to be in Spanish, but we have a guest from Spain, so I wanted to make her feel welcome, though I scared myself and you all instead of that. Hello, good evening. It's wonderful to see so many faces here ready to discuss a subject that we rarely discuss and maybe should talk about more. My name is Dorotėja, I'm the moderator of the discussion. I also speak Lithuanian quite well since it's my native language. So if you don't feel comfortable with the English language and want to raise questions in Lithuanian, please feel free. I'll ask to show a few technical details for us to know how it's going to go. So I'll ask to show a slide with a QR code now. So this is a QR code. If you haven't seen one yet, welcome to the 21st century. And the QR code is for you to have an anonymous way to ask questions. So it guides you to a Google Sheet platform. I tried another way, but it didn't work. So we're going to stick to the old school Google stuff. And there you can raise a question. I'll get it into my phone. You don't have to say your name. You don't have to type in your email. If you ask something very, very inappropriate, I won't raise the question. But this is for you to share something sensitive or ask something sensitive and for you to know that this is a safe space. Today we're discussing a subject of mental well-being in the music industry. The good thing is it's not bad only in Lithuania. The bad thing that it still has to be better and we have to do more. And that's why I have to say my biggest thanks to Živilė, who is the organizer of the festival, and rekomenduoja festivalis, for opening their doors. I have to thank LOFTAS for letting us in and letting us use the space to talk about this. And please don't run away after the talk. We have a little bit of a party going on here. Not necessary. You don't have to drink, you don't have to dance, you can just stay, or you can go home if you feel better that way. And I hope I'll see you at the festival, which starts quite soon. And we have a weekend of wonderful music, exchanges, and friendships, hopefully. So we'll see at rekomenduoja festivalis. And now we'll begin by going back to the first slide and talking to our three wonderful panelists. I think you all know them, at least from the names on the slide. But I'll ask them to shortly introduce themselves and, if they can, share what led them to this subject, how they feel about it, and just say a few words about themselves. Can we start with Rosana?
Well, hello. Thank you for having me. This is my first time in this beautiful country, and I really enjoy to have like the proper experience with the ice and the cold and everything. So, yeah, it was quite challenging for packing my stuff from South Spain to Valencia to here, but I made it. So, yeah, I'm very happy to be here for the whole week. So, yeah, anything that you want to ask as well after this panel, if you don't want to ask it in public, I'll be around. So just feel free to reach out and just respect your own boundaries, yeah? So, well, I'm a clinical psychologist, clinical and humanistic psychologist, and I studied psychology while working in the music industry. I started in London before I could speak any English, so everything happened at the same time, kind of English, psychology, and music. And so I have been very busy for a number of years. I started studying psychology because all my friends were kind of from the music industry, and I saw how they were all struggling. And the majority of people from society didn't seem to kind of understand why people that live a life in art were suffering and struggling. And the worst part was when my friends finally wanted to go to seek help, I found that they didn't feel understood. The first suggestion in London, it's not like in my hometown, you know, it's kind of more remote. It will be, oh, you have to find another job. So that was very risky for them. So at some point, I just decided I had to be a psychologist and to help, because I wanted to help with science. I didn't want to do just like some kind of comforting rituals, whatever, because I felt the problem was so big that science was needed, and I just wanted to learn. And since then, studying and working and touring and different jobs in the music industry while studying. And since I finished, I don't see anyone in my practice that is not part of the arts. So yeah, happy to be here.
Thank you. I can already say that there's a question for you, but we'll get to the questions after the introduction part. However, I'm very glad to see that they're pouring in, because this discussion is mainly for you, not for us. So if you have those questions, please feel free. But before that, we still have to say hello to Tomas.
Hello, everyone. For those who don't know, I am an artist, producer. I've been doing this since I was 17 maybe, but even before that I started as a child in a pop band since I was 3 years old. So it was a very unusual and very musical upbringing. But then since I was 17 I started doing my own stuff, my own music under one name, and then in like 2018, so not too long ago, I started my project that I am mostly known for in Lithuania at the moment. So I had these like different blocks in my life where I considered, there were these stops where I considered, should I continue pursuing music? Should I am I good enough? Should I do something else? And something like that. I also never studied anything else. I never worked, I only worked one time for 3 weeks as a waiter, and I quit after like a very bad accident where I was told to make 9 Bloody Marys and I didn't know how to make them, and I just couldn't handle it. So my experience is like almost 100% in music. I studied music technology at first in UK and then in Kaunas. I have a lot of friends accumulated during these years, and I go to therapy, which is my main form of help that I receive. But also I'm more and more interested in this community, and I'm starting to work a bit more with the younger artists, and I'm interested on how I can mentor them and what I can say to them, because I think it hasn't changed much. Maybe it has even worsened the situation because of social media. Since I was 20, and like kids nowadays, I think they need more help than maybe even I did. That's why this topic is important for me.
Thank you. That brings hope, doesn't it? It's even worse now. However, it also means that there must be ways out. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for your stories. Have you learned how to make a Bloody Mary by now?
Well, no.
Okay.
No.
Good answer. Okay, thank you so much, Thomas. And now we go to Raminta, and I invite you to say a few sentences about yourself.
Thank you, Dorotėja. So I'm psychologist, psychotherapist, and youth line representative here. When Thomas told his story, I remembered when I started studying psychology, one of our teachers said, think very well, do you really want to study psychology? Because it is quite a hard profession, and if you see yourself doing something else, please go and do something else. And then I remember myself thinking, okay, what could I do? And I didn't find anything, and I stay here. Actually, I decided to study psychology when I was at 8th grade, and I was not doing anything else also. And in everyday life these days, I work as psychologist, psychotherapist, and also as organizational psychologist, counselor. And in the youth line, I'm already 20 plus years. Next week, youth line is turning 34. she's not so young anymore as organization.
Careful. Okay, thank you so much. Youth Line, for those who maybe only have heard it in Lithuania, it's Jaunimo linija. So Jaunimo linija is turning 34, which is quite an accomplishment. And since I already have a question for you, Raminta, and it's closely related to Jaunimo linija, so before we go into Rosana's outlook, I want to ask that question, if you're okay with that. Okay? So the question is, how was working in Jaunimo linija? How has it changed your view on mental health?
Working in Jaunimo linija, I had a lot of discussions with myself about suicides, euthanasia, and these kind of things. And it made an impact on my values and to be pro-life very much. And also that it's not so easy to talk about your problems. Some young people call and joke, first of all, and then you listen, you participate, and then conversation starts. And I had few of conversations from which in the beginning it was, what is happening here? Why this person is calling? And then it meant only that it's not so easy to start to talk. And there when people call and then I don't know how to start, you just say hello. And that's it, as you start with your friend. Say hello.
Thank you, Raminta. The questions are pouring in. Thank you so much for them. I will go back to them quite soon. I would like us to go to the next slide, please. And here we have some of the information. So the purpose of this whole speech and whole meeting is to provide you with tools and more information as much as possible as we can give, we'll try to give you. For that purpose, we have an outlook of Rosana, who's the first time here in Lithuania, and we'll try to draw parallels with Lithuania with the help of Tomas and Raminta. But first we want to have a broader look. So how does it work? How does it look to be a part of the music industry? And the floor is yours.
Good. Well, I have to say, after going to many different countries, everywhere, South America, New Zealand, the States, here, whatever, in every country, I have heard, oh yeah, in this country is worse and it's better somewhere else. So everything is almost the same, I have to say, with some differences. So, well, this is just some little press cuts, because thanks to journalism, we are talking about mental health in the music industry. And also, when we talk about mental health, we are only talking about mental health issues, right? But mental health, we all have mental health. So mental health is everything. How we feel with our friends, how is our body, if we feel we can overcome some challenges, we are flexible, we feel love, we are kind of, we are okay. There's nothing rigid about it. It's not I'm good or I'm bad. Maybe I am okay in my relationships, in my friendships, but then I may have some kind of issue in a particular case, okay? So, well, we used to talk about mental health just about musicians when they died by suicide or when they had problems with drugs. So that's also playing a role in the concept society has about what is going on in the music industry, yeah? But this is just the tip of the iceberg. Usually when we see that, there is so much more within. There is so much suffering and also a lot of positive as well. And yeah, we can even talk about the numbers. Can you do the slide thing? Yeah. Usually I have like my phone and everything. So yeah, here I just wanted to share with you some of the kind of research. I'm gonna be here because I can see the camera. They wanna be on the front. The first one is very significant. It's done by Amber Health, this company, this organization I work with in United States, but we do the mental health support for everyone that is kind of touring with the big bands, kind of the huge tours during 6 months or whatever. I always compare it with being part of the circus, because you live there, you have your relationships there, and you never go back home. So they did this research. This was before the pandemic, and they found 1 of each 5 people knew someone close that died by suicide. Again, this is just the tip of the iceberg. And in a meta-analysis by Jordi Shenton, he was analyzing all the research and papers. There are not so many, but he has done a big work. And he found that more than half of all the artists have experienced clinical anxiety or depression at some point in their careers. And often they don't look for any type of help. They self-medicate, or they just go with the work. They think this is part of their jobs, or something job-related, work-related is more important than to take care of themselves. And then clinical anxiety is 4 times higher in performing artists than in general population. And next slide, please. Oh, I feel so directive. Most of the musicians experience some kind of occupational stress. And this is the type of stress that is linked to what they do for a living. And also in another questionnaire that we did with TuneCore in New York, TuneCore and Believe, we found that if you belong to one of those groups, you are more likely to struggle with your mental health. And very significant as well, because I don't want to talk only about musicians, but everyone that belongs to the music industry, is that only 7 of 24 research that Jordi was analyzing included music industry professionals. So mostly everything is focused around musicians and not everyone else. And in the end, we are all in the same boat. So we all struggle. It's just for musicians, it's kind of a little bit more visible with all the consequences that has, of course. And especially, there are some reports and papers that were very useful for press, because they were like, yeah, most musicians struggle with anxiety, depression, but the research wasn't very scientific, so it was a kind of self-report. And we need to be very careful with those kind of research. So anyone that is in academy, I invite you all to go and research and study, because there is a very vast field that needed a lot. So this is the state of things, and we need more numbers. So, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. And from the questions that I get, which is now over 20 questions, so if I miss one, please don't judge me. I'm trying to be as inclusive as I can. This is a sad statistic that we see. This is a scary statistic I can see. Since I'm a person that is I feel better when others also struggle. I'm a bad person. So all of us can feel a bit safer, maybe, that having issues or having fear or having anxiety doesn't make us the odd man out, or doesn't mean that there's something wrong with us. It means that it's happening. However, here we want to talk also about tools to deal with that. And with what we see here, I also would like to invite Raminta to comment on how things are in Lithuania. Are they similar? Are these numbers as scary? And also maybe start moving towards solutions a little bit.
I think these numbers would not be very different from Lithuania. And when I saw this 1 from 5 who knows somebody who died by suicide, some time before, when we started with Youthline, we counted that every person in Lithuania knows someone who committed suicide. So even this harsh. I guess now it's a little bit better. Suicide rates are not so big, but still we are 6th in Europe. Lithuania is 6th in Europe with suicide rates and self-harm rates. So we are not happy about that, and we are working, as Youth Line is saying, we are working for nobody would left alone. Lithuania, Youth Line is for being together, being a place to call and talk or chat.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so the reality is maybe even harsher here. I still believe it's good that we talk about it. But as I said before this, we sometimes talk about the issues that the musicians or the music industry participants go through and forget to ask musicians themselves, how do they feel and what is their experience. Thomas has shared already that his path started quite early, and I'll combine a few questions from here with also what has been said. So have you had to struggle with something, if you're comfortable with to share? I'm quoting some questions. And have you found help?
Of course, I just don't know where to start. But the first thought, if I want to continue from Raminta about suicides, about knowing someone who died by suicide. I think I was like 17 years old when I first found out about someone I knew who died by suicide. I was in a club, in a very big, famous club, Opium Club. At that time, it was like a completely different place. We had our own parties, we organized, and it was like a very, very bright and very jubilant night that night, because I just played like a DJ set, and then the whole smoking area started like talking, and it became apparent that one of like a very good friend of a lot of people, a very bright young visual artist, not musical artist but a visual artist, had died by suicide. And I was like too young to even process it, I think. From that on, and he also like he made it like a statement, like I won't comment how, but like he made it it became, the circumstances were like making it sadder. So since then, I think I thought about it, or maybe it just kind of went into my psyche, and I would also always remember this moment, because nightlife is very, like it's a sometimes dark, interesting, drug related, alcohol related place. I was in nightlife since I was 17, because I used to make electronic music. I remember like a first festival, like a big festival in Croatia called Outlook Festival, which is like 80% British people. I was 18. I haven't seen so many drugs in my life. Like I didn't do drugs. I was too afraid to do them at that time, and it just blew my mind. And after that, I just kept seeing people around my in my community battling with drugs and battling with alcohol, which just makes the psychological health worse. And whenever someone decided to make different kind of music and kind of turn from night to day, it would become better for them. I'm not saying this is a solution to quit nightlife, because unfortunately nightlife in Vilnius has become very stale and very boring and very homogeneous. But I think like mental health starts also from physical health. That's why I learned very early. I was always an early bird. I would always kind of try to do sports and eat semi-well. And I saw that this, in the long run, really made a difference for me. This sounds like a shitty solution, like nothing. Everyone knows this, but actually it's not that easy. Even like as a touring musician, as an artist, we in Lithuania don't tour that much. Like we have like 3 big cities, and we go like in different weeks or even in different months. So it's not like that. But I know that sleep is like super important. Food is really important. A good team is super important. Relationships, especially. Like I was in a relationship with a, let's say, a collective that we were doing events, and we were managing artists. We were managing my music, and at one point we stopped talking, I think, but we kept working. And it became very, very hard to work, and I didn't know where the problem was. In the end, we split our ways, which was how men deal with problems. They just, bye. Like, it doesn't work out anymore, bye. I think if we, I don't know, would have talked more, I wouldn't had a really big slump. I think I had for like half a year. I had a moment in that time where it became really hard in the management side and my artistic side because of this really big tension in my team. I actually wanted to. I was thinking of not finishing the album, my latest album, and I even started doubting my abilities in music, and it all kind of went into this I don't know, relationships actually.
I have to hold myself to not start like a therapy session because there's more people here, but can I go? 1 minute.
Sorry?
Can I go for a minute?
Of course,
No,
of course. I just wanted to ask to change the slide to the QR code for those.
Yeah, cool. It won't be a therapy session, promise. But we can talk about that kind of relationships. So when I work in my practice, I work with one-to-one clients, but also with bands. So it's super interesting because when I see them, they are about to break up. They never come when they are like super cool, successful, happy, fulfilled, because also they are very busy. So it's when they are kind of, okay, let's just give it a go. We don't believe, we don't trust this. I don't do therapy for myself, but okay, let's do it. And what I see over and over again from different countries, different genres, is that in the beginning, when a band or a team is kind of formed, there is a yes to everything, right? So no boundaries. We are all in the same boat. We want the same things. If anything happens, we are not going to complain about this. Let's just forget and move on, right? So then there is always this belief in which we will be happy on the next step, right? With solo artists, but also with bands. No, it's okay. When we have a manager, when we have a label, when we tour Europe or wherever, then we'll be happy. Then we'll set up boundaries. Then we will be healthy. But of course, that never happens. The next step is when you work with people that work with so-and-so, then there is more pressure, and there is less time, and you haven't seen your friends or your family, if you have one, for a long time. And there is all this kind of, usually when I see addiction even, it's never about partying, on my experience in my practice. There is never about, they are having this rock and roll life. No, it's about coping with their everyday stress, because they need to handle some emotions that usually we are not even capable of naming the emotions. And then we try to numb them or hide them away. And then there are conflicts, of course, when you have been touring with a band, even if it's in 3 cities, or if you are just in the studio, right? There's this resentment, I don't forget what that happened, and then the ego, how much I give, all that. And then connections with everything that we bring from home into the band or the music career as well. So I feel the best tool, the first one that I will say, is start naming your emotions for yourselves before you even express it to. That will be the second step. But name your emotions, learn about it, just like practice. There are some free apps, really wonderful ones. I can send you the link. And just start by doing that, because naming and feeling your emotions and knowing what is going on within yourself is not just for preventing issues or for having better conflicts with assertive communication, but it's also for feeling the success and feeling the good stuff. So be aware of what is going on and boiling within yourselves. And that's for everyone. It's not just for musicians.
I'm sorry, my mind immediately jumps to one thought about artists being vessels for like some higher power, and that's why they have to suffer. And everyone who really writes good music and like this genius music is like destined to suffer. It's not true. Like you should write, like people write music from their emotions, and I had this moment in my life where I thought that because I'm becoming more of a happy person, I was actually like a quite closed and not a very happy person since till I was like 25 or 24. My early 20s were like really weird. I don't know. I was a very closed person, and then as I started becoming more happy, I was really afraid that this is gonna affect my music. I even projected it towards my girlfriend, now my wife, who kind of felt that she, like her coming into my life as a good thing was like gonna hurt my music, and we had like really weird moments about this. Which was not true. In the end, like you just kind of flip your inspiration and you start becoming more inspired from like different things, not just like pain and suffering and breakups. This is not. If whole music was just about breakups, we would be so bored. Like, you know.
Also, you can create like a song or a melody from an emotion that is kind of a difficult or uncomfortable one, but then you have to finish the album, exactly. Tour the album, have relationships with your team. So a melody can come from a difficult emotion, but you don't have to base your career in the struggle. Yeah, because it's not sustainable. You can do that for a year, but not for 20, right? Yeah.
A few words about tools and naming emotions. I agree 100% with you about naming emotions. And Ufline has a tool, like you can play as a game or as a quiz. In a Ufline web page, you can find a circle of emotions. And if you have difficulties of naming and finding what is happening with me, usually when we ask, how do you feel? If I would ask here, how do you feel? Lots of people would probably say, okay, or shitty, bad, or normally in Lithuania we say, normal. But all these three words are actually not names of emotions. They are evaluations of our feelings. And if we would try to find names, it's actually a skill. It's not so easy to find these names. So in the Ufline web page, you can play with a circle of emotions, and you can find lots of words that could help you name your emotions.
I may join, so I can learn the emotions in Lithuanian. That will be amazing, actually.
Okay, thank you so much. So we have quite a few steps from how to deal with the stuff that's happening to us. So first, what we heard is learning to name what's happening to you, and a tool that helps you learn the name of the emotion that you're struggling with. Also, not being afraid of good things. And what I heard, and I really liked, and I find that very prevalent in my life, is not saying that once I get there, I'll take care of myself, or once I do that, I'll take care of myself. Right now I have very many questions, so I'll try to group them. And one group is the physical aspect of fear, of being an artist, and how to deal with fear when it affects your capabilities physically. When it affects your voice, you start to tremble, you start losing control of the way you can perform with your instrument. Fear, anxiety, and other emotions. So the one group of questions would be, how do we deal with the physical side of fear and anxiety?
Cool. We want to start?
This is also, I think, known as stage fright.
Yeah, it's a stage fright.
Yeah, which I cannot answer because I didn't have it. At 3 years old, I went on stage and never. I mean, I'm joking. I have like a tamed version of the stage fright, and my voice trembles. But a lot of practice, and in my last concert that I had, actually, what really helped before the concert was just avoiding all the people and kind of being in my own space, because being in a chaotic environment before your concert can really like make you chaotic, which leads to voice trembling, not hitting the notes, not knowing what to do with your body. And still sometimes I have these moments where on stage I disassociate very weirdly. These concerts, I don't know what happens. I still haven't learned to control it. But on stage, I start thinking about I'm becoming aware that I'm performing, and kind of disassociating from the fun of it and from these things. And then I become like the worst version. I start forgetting my lyrics. I become like very. But I know that this happens because either I haven't prepared for it like well enough, which works for me, or I've been like in a very chaotic, very like I just kind of was thrown into the stage, which happens when you come like 30 minutes before the performance and you just start doing.
Cool. Well, we can talk about it. So I'm gonna use a metaphor because I love metaphors. They just stay pretty well in the mind without any efforts. So, because I have different clients that are from different genres, so usually for classically trained musicians, they will try to practice more, control more, avoid people. So all that is kind of not going to help the tension, right? So anything that we find ourselves doing that is about avoiding the stage or the experience, sometimes it's some superstitious things or hiding behind something like a big mic or something like that, is not going to help overcoming that anxiety. The treatment is like any type of phobia. It will be relaxation techniques, mindfulness, grounding techniques, everything that helps you kind of reconnecting with the body. But what happens, like you were describing, it's like suddenly, instead of being connected, like having your gravity center within yourself, what am I giving? Yeah, what am I sharing? What am I singing? Or what am I feeling even? Suddenly, it's that gravity center leaving your body and going into, how are they thinking? What are they thinking about me? How is this going to look in my career? Or whatever. So suddenly you are not in your body. You are dissociating. And it's like going from being a planet with your gravity center and the moon around to being the moon of the public. And some things that are not very stable. So of course we are going to feel more shaky. Some practical things, depending on what is the scenario, let's say, trying to not avoid, not think, not do any weird hiding, and feel your feet or your instrument or what am I wearing now, anything that helps you bringing back your gravity center into your body and yourself. That will be kind of the first thing. And then also connecting with the intention. what is my intention here? So if I was thinking, oh, they are not going to understand my accent, probably I'm not going to be relaxed telling jokes, right? But I know my intention is kind of to give this, to share this, and also to let go on the result and to trust that whatever you want to receive or it's going to stay with you. And it's not in my control because it's just from me to sharing. So sometimes that helps with the singing as well.
I think very, very fast, very quick. Sorry, Raminta. Don't avoid concerts. Like if you have now, I understand that practicing doesn't always make you better, but experience in front of people does. And if you have like opportunities to go sing, perform for 50 people, for 10 people, for 100 people, and keep doing that, and after like you get enough experience, you will know what a shitty concert is, what a good concert is. You will have experience, and you will have like you will be more grounded in that.
We have so much to say. We don't give a word to Dorotėja.
I'm only here to make sure you have space to speak.
So one small tip, physical tip, when you have a stress, anxiety, when we have it, our body unintentionally breathes in too much from the stress. So what we can do, smallest thing to help us, breathe out. Do this and always breathe out longer than you've breathed in. And in all stress situation, it will help you and nobody will notice even. You can do it. And it helps us physically. We relax while breathing out. And we ground, as Roxanne was saying. Another thing, again, tool or all toolbox, I would say. There is in Lithuania jazz musician, jazz artist and music therapist Laura Budreckytė, who created a system, Vocologia, that is knowledge and exercises about your voice. If you have anxiety of singing and you want to work with you can find. I think it is an open source. You can find it free of charge on internet and try to listen and do these exercises and be led by it. So.
Thank you. We're going to continue with a similar group of questions. Thank you for what you've shared. Thank you for actually sharing the actual tools and actual practices. I think we all need sometimes something very specific to help us in certain situations. However, another group of questions has to do also with how to deal with fear, but it's not a physical fear. It's a fear of failure, a fear of being bullied, a fear of being misunderstood, a fear of showing your art and being cancelled by what you created, and how to deal with that fear and how to deal with the emotions that stop you then from actually going on stage or actually creating something. So this is yet another block that we stumble with. What would be your experience in dealing with it?
I feel first, again, the intention. So when you are making your art, what is the feeling? What is it giving you? What is the nice space, the release, emotions, expressing rage, whatever. So don't jump into the next part of the process in your head, if you can, which is, I'm going to be sharing that, right? Because when I am working with creative blocks, for example, it's always about, instead of connecting with that melody, with that first creativity, with kind of like if you were journaling in a way, you start thinking, oh my God, how is this going to be received? And then that usually cuts the creative process itself. And also, I have some other clients that they don't have any issues performing other people's music, but then when it comes to themselves, that is hidden in a little wardrobe, wherever. So, of course, it's scary. It's scary. It's a very brave thing to do, to share something that is so deep, so it makes you feel vulnerable in a way, to share that. Often I compare it with having a baby and putting the baby in the middle of the town and ask people, so what do you think about my baby? Is it ugly? Is it pretty? Of course it's scary. So just take care, it's yours. First, maybe share it in a safer space with people that care about you, that love you. And also I will say, don't forget your friends and your family that are not from the music industry and they just love you for who you are. And then you are freer to experiment and to do things that maybe are not so good or to make mistakes, because you will have a more solid ground, I feel. But we need to dare to make mistakes, and there is always that inner security within. It's never going to be about how many good positive feedbacks I have. And also be very careful on your inner dialogue, your inner critic. Because sometimes it's about some people outside, but the worst criticism usually is within ourselves. So it's about, oh my God, I'm the worst, this is never gonna work, da 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 da. So just check that one first. Yeah.
Raminta?
Yeah. When you create your artwork, it comes from you, but it is not you. And I think this exercise is very important to do. If you get a critics to your artwork, it is a critics to this artwork. It's not about you. Even if they formulate it like about you, you have to know that it's not about you. And they can like it or not. But actually, even it is probably not for liking. Probably you created it not for liking, but for speaking. You want to tell something with that artwork. And they can understand it or not. People understand different things. Probably your artwork is not a language to that person. He or she doesn't understand this language. Okay, let it be. People are different. It's not for them. Do not take it personally, because it's not about you. Even though they formulate, I know, they write harsh comments on social media, and they sometimes formulate as if it is about you. And second exercise, know where is your thermometer, let's say, this thing for measuring. Do you give them this? Do you give it measuring thing for them in their hands, and they will say the truth about you? Do you really want to do this? Do you want to give this power to measure you, to define you? Or you take it from them, and I know what is truth about myself. Not they know, I know. And it's not so easy. It doesn't happen automatically. We have to remind ourselves and do this as exercise, as practice. Okay, where is my measuring thing? Have I give them? Okay, I take it back. It's here, and who knows how good am I? Me. And I will do. Maybe my good friends also know, and they can say it. So to these things, you are not the same as the artwork, and do not give your measurement thing, thermometer about you to the others.
Sometimes it's difficult because the criticism is not just about what do they think about me, but also what someone is going to think about me is going to make the difference between is this going to be released or not? Am I going to have shows or not? So it's not just about kind of the normal criticism, and also it connects with something that I love to work with, which is in musicians and in artists in general, but musicians, their job role is very fusion with their identity. So it's exactly what you were saying. So it's about, who am I? About a singer or piano player or whatever. And that is about your core values. What are your core values? So it's exactly what you were saying. If I feel I'm a good person, then I can dare to make a good track or a not so good track, but I'm sure I am a good person inside, right? So yeah, it's about getting to know and getting curious and interested in what else are you loved for, and not just your music or your art. But art is a big part of it. And sometimes I ask them, or I say, even when you are not creating, there is creativity in you. Even when you are not playing or singing, or there is love for music in you. So you can rest in that part. And that's kind of the deepest part for me. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. It's getting more and more interesting. And of course, we're getting closer and closer to the end of this, but we still have 20 plus minutes for our discussion. So if you have some secret questions, please type them. Maybe I'll have a way to measure through them. But thank you so much for being so open. We have a third group of questions, which has to do with work-life balance and finding your people in the industry. I myself know that it's, and you've said it, all of you yourselves, that it's easier said than done. And we say that you have to create the work-life balance, look after yourself, talk to yourself in a positive manner, don't judge yourself, don't criticize yourself. A measuring thing that Raminta mentioned, I've never heard it before, I think it's very useful, thank you. So, but how do actually we start doing that? So how do we actually start creating a balance? And how do we find people that are trustworthy in the music industry? How to learn to trust people, and should we do that? And maybe you can all share, or if you want to share something about that.
Cool. You?
Well, how did I find my now manager? I think by being led by my intuition. She wrote to me. She's a young manager who just quit her previous managerial job. She had a low stakes like assistant managerial job, and then we quit at the same time. We didn't know each other well, but we had a conversation, and in that conversation we put our values on the table, and we really talked like openly. And from that conversation, in which we didn't need to pretend to one another, and we kind of were vulnerable to each other, I understood that this is the person I need, because previously maybe I lacked a bit of vulnerability or openness from my previous teams. So, and this really is paying off, because every time we have a conflict, it doesn't, like, we start talking about it immediately. And I think in any relationship, in a personal relationship or work relationship, talking is really, really important. I'll end here and maybe think about some other things while we talk.
You were already talking about how healthy, like the healthy ABC, sleeping, sports, eating well, and everything else, how that works for you to have like this longer career. I feel that is very important as well. I will say, don't stress about the toolkits, because if you put on a long list of things to do, even meditation can be stressful. So if you are like, I have to meditate, then of course it's not going to help, I think. So in order to have a healthy work-life balance, I feel, because since the pandemic, over 85% of my new clients, again from different genres, countries, were coming with burnouts. So that was for me very shocking. So I started doing conferences all about stress and burnout and everything else. So this is not just a problem from the music industry, but of course the world, the system, and everything else. But one of the things with burnout is that we disconnect from the body symptoms. So we realize that we are really stressed when we are too stressed to even notice. Yeah? And we start cutting off in everything that can help us lowering those stress levels. Yeah? So with all these things that we see on Instagram or social media in general of having the healthy life, yeah, when it comes to stress, if you struggle with chronic stress, that is not going to help. It's not going to help. Doing some breathing exercise or even the grounding techniques, that can help if it's just acute stress, just one moment, 1 week, one job, whatever. But when it's chronic, the only thing that helps is actually restructuring, going to therapy, all that, even medication in some cases, and significant relationships. Having friends, family, being part of a community, loving each other, feeling love, feeling purpose, feeling that you share with other people your knowledge, that is the only thing that helps lowering cortisol levels in chronic stress. So my invitation is join a community, prioritize your friends, and also from everything that you listen in this talk even, wherever make you feel something, start with that, just one thing. Don't try to do everything, just one thing. Oh, I feel called to do this, the breathing exercises, or I haven't called this friend, or maybe meditation, or whatever. But just one thing. Don't try to do it all, because cortisol or stress, I feel, is one of the things that take us away from having a more healthy and balanced career.
If you are in a way of burnout, you have of job burnout, and music is also job, then recommendation is to stop doing your job for at least 4 weeks, 4 or 5 weeks. You have just stopped doing that. And I know it's not so easy sometimes, and in business world, they also look at me these eyes, oh, but how? I don't know how, but I know that you have to do it if you do not want to die. People die from burnout, and it's not a joke. No, of course, doctors write that something happened with the heart or something other. They do not write this, but when we speak with the team, with the people around, we understand that it was burnout. So it is really serious. If after weekend you don't feel better, okay, try a week. If after a week you don't feel better, you have to take 4 weeks. And if you don't feel good after 4 weeks, then you really need additional help of mental health specialists and people around. And this means even you have to stop doing your work more than 4 weeks. Circle of support, what you have said, and find another hobby. Music, I think, is the place where you are probably happy that your hobby and your work is the same. And people like to say, oh, if you make your hobby your work, you will not have to work. No, because psychology was my hobby also. What I know from myself, it means that you don't have hobby anymore. You have to think of another hobby. So yes, music is a nice hobby for a lot of people, but if it is your work, then you need another hobby.
I will give you some counter-arguments to that, both of you. Not counter-arguments maybe, but a further question from the audience, further questions from the audience, which is a very nice way that this is flowing so well. You've mentioned that this is, we might joke, we might have a funny tone here, but we are dealing with some very serious issues that actually might lead to suicide, to death, and so on and so forth. And some of the questions, and then you said you have to stop, you have to take a break. Unfortunately, we have to speak about the fact that it is not possible sometimes due to financial issues. You cannot stop financially, and you also financially cannot support mental health professionals. So what is the way out of this? You are poor, you are an artist, you don't have savings. You feel that there's something really serious going on. You do not have that circle of support of your friends and family, and you can't afford a psychotherapy session, which costs from 50 euros a session. So what do we do then?
But do we immediately assume that you don't have a circle of support?
No, I'm just referring to the questions that...
like if you have nothing?
Yes.
If you're very isolated?
Yes. I'm not assuming that all artists are lonely, and none at all. It's just that some of the questions say that what if that's the case?
If you have nobody, call to Youth Line. 24/7 there are people who care, who really want to listen and who really want to talk. And they will help you to find that help. Not all psychological help is paid. It is possible to find free of charge psychological help in Lithuania. It is really possible. If you find difficulties by yourself to find it, you can call to Youth Line. Also, there is crisis center in Vilnius. You can go to the crisis center, and there will be a psychologist who will help you to find further support. So it is really accessible.
Yeah. I will say also, if you don't have like a big circle, sometimes it's just about being open to, I don't know who is that, in Spain, southern Spain is quite normal, but just like being open to what you are receiving from people, just like more normal connections that are kind of everyday. Just be kind to the person in the shop or in the bar, or just like this one friend or this one person from your family, whatever. Any type of connection is good. And you can also join, I don't know, some type of sport, anything that is kind of for free, that is in your community. And just starting to look into those areas is going to help you feeling more connected, actually. And also, mindfulness meditation is for free. You can look at it online, you can just like close your eyes and breathe. We can do that. And kind of little by little, you may find that kind of comfort within yourself. And sometimes when you don't feel ready for talking, just like coming here, listening, being open to that, and even asking this type of questions, that sounds like a very good start. And remember, you are part of the music community, and that is very international, and I can tell you that. Yeah.
Just about these communities, I know that there are a lot of free language courses, a lot of free sports groups. For example, in my like big slump, psychological slump, I started playing more football. I played it like 4 times a week. I became really like much closer with those boys, and I would also feel somehow elated and maybe expressing myself through other form, which like I started feeling my body more better, and that gave me more confidence, and that confidence translated into other forms. So communities are free. There are a lot of communities, but you just need to like move from that point. You need to find in yourself a little bit of like bravery to kind of move from the dead point, because it's inertia. It's like once you start moving, it's harder to stop, but from a still point it looks impossible. But once you like do one thing, and it becomes a habit, you know.
And get out of social media and connect in person. That also.
Yeah, and these people, this support circle, is a net that helps you when you fall. And you can find on the internet even a picture of person falling, and all these people whom he knows and with whom he is connected is like a net that can help you not to fall on the ground. So keep connected at least with someone, 1, 2, 3. It's also very good not to have 10. Probably if you have 10, 20, these connections are probably poor. It's better to have few connections, but really real and sincere.
Okay, and thank you so much, and somebody is doing my job for me and asking me to ask you, how are you feeling?
I was going to ask you, actually. You didn't tell us about your struggles or your tools.
Oh, we don't have time. One day.
Later? Okay.
Later. But the question remains, so how are you feeling? And for example, do you feel anxiety speaking right now? Is there fear? Was there fear, and how you dealt with it? And in general, how are you? Do you still have some power left in you?
That's such a nice question. How are you feeling? My hands are cold. I can feel them. That's the start. I don't feel nervous. Well, if I'm joking too much, sometimes that's a sign. But no, I don't feel nervous. But I have felt nervous when I was actually at Reeperbahn Festival, when I had to do some video in front of this huge cinema camera with 12 people, and I was there shaking, talking about burnout. And I was like, I'm an expert by heart. But then, this kind of the camera, looking into the camera, like doing advertising, I was shaking. And the sound guy gave me a hug and everything. He was German. So, I was like, I help people with stage fright for a living. And right now, I don't drink alcohol and I just want a beer, So that was my experience, having a panic attack in front of a camera. But the edition was very good at the end. You don't even notice. But right now, I'm okay. Thank you. And I'm very happy, and I can't wait for this to finish and then go and talk, like with no lights. Yeah.
Wow. In the beginning, I felt anxious when I was last, and when you are last, this tension grows. So I did this breathing out, actually, because I thought, okay, I feel this, and if I will start talking just now, my voice will tremble. So I remind myself, breathe out. I did this, and it was okay. I started talking. Now I'm okay, but yes, it's really cold here. So
Should you maybe get your
cold.
coats? While I speak, you can get your coats. If you're really cold, don't be afraid to get it. I think, like for me, these kinds of events where I can see faces are really nice. There's also, this is supported by LATGA, right? LATGA is one of the partners. Also, there's this other association, Agata, and both LATGA and Agata do these kinds of events for musicians. You should definitely follow or become members of both of them or one of them, however you like. It's either free or like a small membership fee. And both these organizations offer discussions, panels, workshops. I think in this case, we can when we see we're part of community, and some of you I know, some of you I see for the first time, but we kind of become like a relationship is different than in a concert where I just see a mass of people, unknown faces, and this is like way different. I feel much more comfortable in these situations.
Okay, so if you're really cold, maybe we could ask for a few cups of tea for our speakers. That will really at least warm their hands. If somebody heard me, then you will get it. If nobody heard you, then you won't get it.
10 minutes.
Okay, so we have 10 minutes left for our discussion, and I'll go into a few other questions that we got, and we're rounding up our discussion. And now we're talking about. We have a few questions. Again, I wanted to bring us to some sort of a happy ending, but I'm led by you. I guess it's not a very happy ending so far, but I hope we'll get there. A question is, when you have actually done these things, when you have tried being yourself, when you have tried being who you are, and you have been rejected, and when you found the community and the community started competing with you, and now you feel as if this is a fake game of who's better, if that's the feeling you have, how do you get out of it? Because we spoke about finding a community, but what happens when a community hurts you? How do you move on from that?
I think if general feeling around you is that someone around you, you're in a community of jealous people, you should get out of that community. It might sound harsh, but let's say I have been part of different communities in this one big community, and jealousy or FOMO, or like trying to compare yourself to other people, is a general feeling that musicians feel. But if you feel that in your circle you are being scolded for that, or kind of being manipulated in some way, this is like, I would say analogy is of friends. If a friend kind of makes you feel like, you should evaluate your friendships, I think, sometimes. And if a friendship has become one of like jealousy or something like that, and if openness doesn't work, if conversations don't work, then it's okay to move on. Sometimes you need to move on. Yeah.
Moving on is okay.
I love the expression. It's just like, yeah, it's tiring when that happens. There are a few threads that we could pull, but just super direct. There is not mine, is from Buddhism, but there is pain, and we don't avoid pain. We shouldn't avoid pain, because that causes a different type of problems. But when I feel rejected, or when someone rejects me, community, or I have a breakup or whatever, then there is pain. Yeah, I was with people, then I feel rejected, and there is pain. But then there is another part that is the suffering. Yeah, so we should be able to tell, is this just the normal pain from being struggling in my relationship right now, or am I adding anything to it towards myself? So am I judging myself? Am I thinking I am not a good person, musician, or whatever, because someone rejected me or my community rejected me? And if you can, just like try to stay with just the pain and not add into the suffering. And also, if the community that you are describing is kind of the music industry, I will ask you, why are you still here? What is your motivation? What is your safe space? Maybe now it's just listening to music or playing music by yourself. Stay with that and recover and get your strength back together. And then try in different communities or with just one friend, or just start small. Don't try to make them understand anything. Reconnect with your purpose and start from there. I try to be short, but I can't.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I agree. Do not compare yourself with others. See yourself as uncomparable. You are yourself. Be yourself. And if it is toxic and people behave in a bad way with you, just go out from that community and you will find another community. One by one, you will find another community. If one audience doesn't like you, you will find your audience. That means that you just have to find your audience and your people. And to add to Roxanne what said, if people hurt you, don't hurt yourself additionally. If somebody hurt me, oh, I'm bad, I was not okay, oh, it's always, maybe I am always, hey, they said bad things to you, and why you are adding to it? You have to send love to yourself. You have to comfort yourself, not to add additionally how bad I am. That's it.
Just a very, very short story. I try to make it as short as possible. I always tell this as a fork in the road for me of when I started behaving in much freer way towards music. I was in Berlin. We got an offer to play a big show for a big brand. And before us, that was my solo project, electronic music, as I said. And before us, a DJ played, like around 600 people were in the hall. Everyone was like really having fun. And then I came up and we started playing my music. And like after 2 songs, it was like 30 people in the hall. It was like I don't remember a moment in my life where I felt more embarrassed. But I had to finish that performance. I finished it with like sukąsti dantis, with my teeth. Yeah. And after that, we had a long conversation during the whole night with my DJ, with my friend. And after that, I think something snapped in me. To remember, it was just a bad performance. Like it wasn't. Like just the music wasn't fit for that event. I wasn't like somehow bad or worse or something like that. It didn't fit. Like they took me. They shouldn't have. But after that, I started making music that I felt much like I relaxed. After some time, after I healed, after like half a year maybe. I started making whatever. Like I didn't try to make music in English. I didn't try to make music that fit this Berlin scene or whatever. I came back to Vilnius. I started doing whatever I felt like doing, and that was the best choice for me. Like, but I needed this big embarrassment and this big, event to kind of shake me up and like move me to another community as we are speaking.
Okay, we're rounding out. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for coming here, for sharing your stories, for asking questions, for being brave. I am sorry I didn't get to ask all of the questions. We'll do it, I hope, once again. I'd like to finish up with still a positive thing, which was brought to me by our colleague Raminta, which is called The Book of Hope. And maybe Raminta, could you comment a few sentences about what it is and how can it help us in this situation?
A few years ago, Ufline published this book together with some artists, musicians. This book is created from stories, from real people's stories about their emotional problems, physical problems with which they are struggling. And what is most important, that it is not sad book. It's not a book of problems. It's very bright and hopeful book, because in every story there is a part how these people are coping, and most of them are still coping with their issues. And what gives them hope? In every story there is this part. When I got this book for myself, in the beginning I was thinking to read or not, when to read, maybe it will be sad book, I don't want. And one day I started reading, and I found out, oh, this is so bright and positive book. I was feeling really light. And some of these people are famous people in Lithuania. And I recommend you to read this book when you will feel sad.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Again, thank you, Živile. Let's get a round of applause for our panel members. For Živile, for Latga, for LOFTAS, and of course for you. Don't run away. There's going to be music. Thank you. It's been a pleasure.